Thank you. Thank you very much. I begin with thanking Dr. Hinton, Dr. Danu, and Dr. Gillara. Don't go by what my CV says. And I'm happy about what Saddam shared. It's a wonderful thing that they are doing. I'm aware of that project. My experience is different. For listening to me, for time being, all those who are doctors, stop being doctors and start being human beings. Of course, this I shall quickly go through. This also can go. Okay. Dr. Gilada called me up about Chemsex, and he said, I expect you to speak on this subject. I said, yeah, sure, I'm aware of that. And then I did a small experiment. Well, I went on to meet some of my doctor friends, and I asked this question, do you know what Chemsex is? 90% of them did not know what Chemsex was. They had this question, what is it? But I don't blame them, because this is the kind of subject which is nobody's talking about. Now, let's do it. Three things are involved. I was asked to also talk a little bit about rave, which is part of subculture in our systems. So we need to understand a little bit about chemicals, a little bit about sexuality, and a little bit about music and hedonism. Sounds big words, but anybody who has got questions can ask me these questions. Now, let's come to cultural belief system, which is in general, at larger population, where you need to be a good person, good boy, or good girl. And what are the parameters in which your behavior has to be acceptable? And you are expected to follow certain norms. The question is, if you look at the risk perception of community in general, it is very high. Drugs? No. Sex? No. HIV? No, no, no. And that's precisely what we need to understand, that there is also a risk behavior. And it being inversely proportionate, we'll come to that. Sexuality is another issue. 99% of people believe sex is equal to love is equal to marriage. Hello? In which era we are living? We have to re-examine ourselves and look at the belief systems which are predominant and make the adaptability. I remember I was discussing, and I'm sure all of you should read Alvin Toffler, who talked about the future shock. The rate with which the socio-cultural changes are coming, it is difficult for human species to adapt to that. So we all go through these shocking revelations and behaviors. Multiple sex partners. Well, monogamy is accepted for a lot of social norms. Why? Because the rest of them are illegal. The question is that male and female sex is normal. Again, it's a matter of perception. The question is, hedonism is, well, by default, we are all human beings and we are born hedonistic. And when we say hedonistic, it is supposed to be a pleasure-loving behavior which we all have. The mind functions only on one principle, how do I be happy? But the life is to find a balance. Also, the norm is that how much money I have, and it becomes a parameter of success. The question is, very often people tell me that what is the best thing that can happen. And when I say that, when I go into my systems and when I see 600 family members smiling, it feels great. Money is by default, it will happen if you work hard, there's no question. And music, because we are going to talk about rave. The whole concept of music previously was that it has to be soothing. You should like, you should enjoy and have fun with it. Well, let me tell you about this whole issue of subculture belief systems which have come. Social perception, all these people who believe what they are believing, it is all bullshit. I'm in total denial. Why would I follow you? Why would I listen to your old people's all kinds of advices which you have got and sometimes you don't even follow in your systems? I was very happy when he asked this question, how many people are younger than 30 years old and have experimented with substances? I will ask, how many of you are 65 years old and are exposed to alcohol? Nobody. Hello? I know my friend Dr. Gilada is anti-alcohol systems in most of the conferences, but trust me, it is not uncommon. Hell of a lot number, irrespective of social, cultural, gender issues. They drink. Why? Social acceptance. Let's see. Fun. Sexuality. Yes. Sexuality is acceptable. Who said that I can't have sex? The way I feel hungry, I feel horny. Simple as that. And what do I do about it? I find a partner. Male partner, female partner, what kind of partner? Any kind of partner. What do you do if you don't get a partner? I masturbate. But when we talk about this, it becomes a taboo. People don't talk about this. Parents don't talk to children. Teachers don't teach. Everybody is confused. My question today, I was talking again, and I said, what is the source of information about sexuality? How many of you have read Kama Sutra? Hello? The answer is no. So what is your source of information about sexuality? No. When you were in school, they were teaching you that this is spermatozoa, this is ovum, this is birds, this is bees. Nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about reproductive sex. Nobody talks about sexuality. Music. The concept of fun vis-a-vis music is concerned. It should be loud. It should be fun. It should be rhythmic. Well, ask your father. Things are different. But these changes are so gradual that elder people don't want to accept these people and these people don't want to accept those people. So it definitely creates the gap. Now, when we talk about the trend in subculture, I'm glad that you have to be aware of that part. The thought process. Unfortunately, I'm a psychiatrist and I think about mental health more often. Crime, he mentioned, Saddam did, and Carol also mentioned earlier, that crime, why are we being treated as criminals? One correction, 377 is not gone, it has been diluted. Please try and understand. There are certain clauses which have made a change, but not in totality, it is not gone. Fear. They have fear. What? Fear of what? I mean, that will give a conceptual framework. Pigs. Cops are pigs. They are corrupt. They catch us because they want money. Well, discrimination. They don't understand what is happening to us. This is the concept. It begins with one's own self. It goes into family. It goes into society. Yes, discrimination is there. After so many years of hard work with the AIDS Society of India or International AIDS Society, hello, discrimination is not gone. Let's accept that as reality and continue to function into that direction where we need to talk about it. All right. I want you to, Dr. Gilada told me that, have you made any audio-visual kind of things? And I don't know what rave party is. So I said, yeah, I'll put this one, have a look at it. Very quickly, I will not go into the full, this thing. It's the concepts. Oh, technology. Many of you are shaking heads. All of us like.
Sometimes I look over
Now
my
listen to
shoulder and I wonder, are the best years of my life behind me? Sometimes I think about the lives that other people lead on TV, in magazines, and I think that should be me. Seems like yesterday I was having fun and then I looked away. When I turned back to face the world, the whole place had changed. And now it's like everyone's at a Chemsex party except me. I'm all alone while my friends are having methadone blown into their assholes. I can hear my neighbors barebacking all night. I'm still waiting for my invite. Everyone's at a Chemsex party except me. So here
I'll stop here. What is the message which you registered? Chemsex is everywhere, that's the way to party. Now, let's little bit look into this part of the story. Celebrations are always better in groups, not a new story, universal global phenomena. When we are more, we are merrier. Chemicals, I asked this question about how many people exposed to alcohol. Nobody raised your hands. Trust me, all of you are. If you are looking at alcohol as C2H5OH, as a child you were given a cough syrup, a vitamin syrup, which also contains alcohol. But when I asked you this question, what did come into mind? Am I drinking vodka? Am I drinking beer? Am I drinking wine? No, please understand the process. Well, sex, reproductive sex never had any problems. It is the recreational component of sexuality which causes the problem. And therefore, we need to look at it. Now, when it was added with the electronic music, trance, that is the time people started having parties with loud music, lot of drugs, lot of sex. And that's what we say, Chemsex and party. It was also known as party and play. Maybe it was pointed out in the European countries, but it is happening everywhere. My topic was that whether it happens in our country, yes or no. We'll come to that part. But try and understand, this is probably part of repetition, that normalcy is defined as a statistical status. Out of 10 people, if 8 people are doing, that is considered as normal. But what about those 2? You know, the question is asked that 5% or 10% of people are having problems with homosexuality and drug addiction. My question is, what happens to 85%? Why it is not happening? And if it is not happening, nobody is studying them. But unless we do that, we are not going to find any kind of solutions to the problem. Risk behavior and risk perception, as I said. If I feel the risk is high, I will not indulge in it. But if I don't feel that risk is high, then obviously there is no harm. We can try it out. Third part of the story is SSPP. Now, teachers, as I said, they talk about reproduction. Now, SSPP is a non-gender biased same-sex partner preference. It can be exclusive or it can be partial. The point is, I was lucky to work with Kripa Foundation. I was lucky to work with the Humsafar Trust. God has been kind. I have been working with both private sector, NGOs, as well as governmental projects. Now, anal sex in MSM is the question mark which we were raising. But trust me, anal sex is also not uncommon in heterosexual relationship. So, to limit yourself to only one population doesn't make sense, to me at least. So, the question is why they do it. Now, most of the time, fear of infection. Oh, trust me, my friends, who I call them my friends, not my clients, they are intellectually good, smart, emotionally extremely sensitive, and maybe socially more than normal manipulations are there. So these people are understanding, they are afraid. What if somebody finds out, if I get infected? We are doing awareness programs for HIV disease for a very long time. Everybody knows about HIV. The question is, everybody is afraid. Why? Whatever the reason it was depicted to begin with, it has created certain degree of fear. Use of substance increases the euphoria. Because I am afraid, I am dysphoric, I am depressed. But I need to come out of that kind of fear and depression, so I use substances. If I drink 2 pegs of whiskey before dinner, wow, I get a good sleep. If I am going to give a lecture and if I take a swig, I come out with wonderful performance. The question still remains the desire to have a longer and stronger sex. Again, concept of hedonism. It is, therefore, that when they start, he rightly pointed out, Saddam did, that it is the confidence which I don't have within myself that I can do reasonably well without use of substances. But that is when I am not doing well. It has got 2 problems. I am not satisfying myself, I am not satisfying the partner. That is the problem. So go still further. We are all hedonistic, as I said. So the rapid rhythmic music, okay. The challenges in interventions we should look at is in our country, subculture, Chemsex already is existing in India. Trust me. As he rightly said, major cities to now class 2, P cities. It is there, but it is submerged. I don't think any one of you have attended a rave party unless some community people who have done that. But I was lucky. I was invited. These parties are purely by invitations. You just can't walk in, pay money and walk in. No, it doesn't happen. You have to be in the circle, or as they call, in the circuit. Then only you will be able to attend their parties, not otherwise. As far as drugs, I am happy Carol and Saddam has talked about all the drugs possible. But basic principle, all those drugs which changes the emotional state. You don't get addicted to paracetamol. No. Why? It doesn't alter the emotional states. So anything that emotional state comes, well, people use it. And most of the time, the mistake those who are designing intervention is that your focus is where. I'm glad and grateful to Saddam that it is saying that the person is important. I remember my professor who used to say, charas, ganja, afim, bhai, batli, patta, ghoda, satta, randi, bhaji. Bimari kahan hai? Where is the illness? Is it external or it is here? But that people do not realize, and that's where the problem is. Polydrug abuse, yes, it is very, very common. I get high because I have taken cocaine. I realize that I am high, so I drink alcohol to put it down. Not uncommon. Now the question is, we need to understand. In sociology, it is said that when the critical mass of the population shares and believes, then it becomes the norm. Individuals become family, will become group, society, in turn becomes communities. Geographical location will cause status, nation and countries. Why this is important? Because the intervention from below upwards and above downwards, both of them are needed. Norms are for the betterment of individuality and family, group and humanity. Now these are sociological teachings. Trust me, I was lucky, I was teaching in TISS for a long time. Problems may not be identical. What I face in India may not be identical to what is in Europe or in America. But if you look at the totality picture, it may be different. But globally, that whole concept of better living for humanity, it has not yet reached the critical mass. The question still, the medical challenge is, well, deal with the reality. The chemicals alter the susceptibility of host. Oh, trust me, with alcohol and cocaine, it has been established by research. Anybody who drinks 2 pegs of whiskey, if he was to get infected, his susceptibility is increased by 20% to 200%, depending on that individual. When we say genotypal and phenotypal studies are not available, time limits. All right, I'll finish, yes. Multiple strains, mixed infections, treatment failures, and resistance is very common. With these people, those who are on treatment, it becomes very difficult. The second line treatment availability, another significant factor which is that these medicines are prescribed by, I'm sorry, quacks. Some of the prescriptions which I have seen, it is unexplainable. The swapping is very difficult. Individually, people, those who want to make a change in lifestyle, yes, interventions are available. You also should know that Mental Health Act which has come in 2017, it makes more difficult for any person to be forced into any kind of treatment. So therefore, necessarily, it has to be voluntary. Individually, people who want, yeah, all right, microscopic help. Well, trust me, medicine, pharma sector, doing great job. Eugenetics and pharma, both are working very hard. Macroscopic, yes, SBCC, which I would say is one of the recent interventions, social behavioral change communication. This counseling came in NSCP-1 and it disappeared. Help is available to anybody who wants it. Poor people go to general hospital, middle class goes to the nursing homes, rich class goes to corporate hospitals. The questions which we will address some other time about the connection which was discussed between private and public. Okay? Rave, well, legislation is must. The problem is that, is it possible? Everybody is saying this is must, this is that, is must. Oh, it's not happening. Public health perspective, if you see, the crime and healthcare, these are the two common things which needs attention. But, well, legally there are laws, but not being implemented. Private government policies, well, trust me, today somebody was talking about social justice ministry. Do you know that the Department of Substance Abuse is by social justice and HIV disease is by health? And both these ministries don't talk to each other. There is no congregated data. It is not available. Globally, we understand this is the theme of 2019. It's an absolute perfect need of the time. Research technology implementation is not only prerogative of scientific communities, but also responsibility of the civil society and mass population. It is not my business, it is our business. If we don't look at it, well, we are not going to reach anywhere. About PrEP and post-exposure. Only one thing which he said, and I'm reiterating, the fact still remains that people use alcohol and stimulants, but by giving this kind of treatment, trust me, my addict friends, they take it for granted. They'll say, I will not get infected. It is like women taking a one pill not to get pregnant and have high-risk behaviors. Oh, trust me, it is very much there. Thank you very much. I will end here.